The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. This is something that I was reading for last, I don't know how many days. This is like way too much information to process. So it took a long time to finish this book. The first question that I got an answer from this book is, what is gene? Consider that you're planning to build a car as described in the book, and the book is nothing but a master plan, right? Simple. The book is divided into chapters. Each chapter has its own pages. The book can be referred as a chromosomes in our human body. The chapters can be referred as a DNA, acting like in kind of an execution part for certain aspect of your body. The page is referred to as gene. Now, overall, the gene represent a short segment of DNA and is responsible for physical characteristics such as eye color, facial features, how many hair you will have on body. Now, these genes can exhibit two characteristics. One is selfishness and another is altruism. They both work together to make sure that we survive in long run. Everyone expects to support their own nation when two nations are at war. Now, interestingly, the nation's interests are above your personal ones. A life will be given, people will die in war. This is altruism at work. But the altruism is always the first level in this whole scenario, and selfishness is the next. You would see yourself as a leader of the crew. You will become selfish after achieving your bigger objective, which is for your crew or your pack or group. Take example of wolf. Once everyone is full of their tummies, the leader would eat. How do genes spread throughout the time? Right? Scientists attempted to mimic the early days of Earth and came up with a soup, a dark brown one soup, which is called primeval soup. This was made up of a living creatures, and the ability of them to duplicate themselves was there. What they required is food and protection in order to safeguard it from various predators or unexpected situation which might not be the case where they want it to be. As a result, they built a thing called survival machines. Survival machines are the bearer of genes for stipulated time, right? For a short period of time. The next question is that will be answered through this book is, what after the stipulated form? What drives the gene evolution in survival machines? The genes begin replicating within survival machine. The replications process will be erroneous in the time. This is known as mutation. If it can be for the better or for the worse. If it suits you, you will live happily and you will be more protective against unlikely events and predators, or else you could die. Natural selection is a part of survival of the fittest. So natural selection is that risk which is kind of either will pay off or not, right? One solution to all this situation is that we try to simulate. So natural selection is kept on side, right? It's possible that genes have already figured out how to simulate themselves and use better versions of themselves. Now, who has my genes, right? Who will have my genes? The propagation in time is achieved by replication, and generally in humans, replication is achieved by reproduction of genes. It is different for different species. For now, we'll stick to humans. Male have sperms, female have eggs. This is something base biology we learned. When they both meet, they form a baby. This again stick to human. The gender is dependent on X or Y chromosome pattern. XX means male, XY means female. In simple terms, I as Aditya Kulkarni will have 50% genes from my mother and 50% genes from my father, irrespective of my gender. Right? So if I have a sister, she will also have 50% of my father's genes and 50% of my mother's genes. So relatability is half. With grandparents from both sides, it is 25%, because my father will have 50% of mother's genes and 50% of father's genes. So for brother and sister, it is half. In case of twins, it will be 100%. Whereas in first cousins, it would be 1/8. The greater our relatedness, the more altruistic behavior we project towards them. But the life is not that easy. There are many hurdles for survival. Doing a cost benefit analysis would always increase the survival chances. If you are in a fight and your opponent is stronger than you should run away from the situation so that your survival is checked. If your opponent is weaker, staying, fighting him, and winning over him would always increase your chances of survival. Right? In some cases, your genes will not help you become stronger than your opponent. In such cases, species will live in groups to survive. Kind of example of deers. Right? They can't become stronger than lions. This group definition is also very restrictive, right? So all the mammals come under one group, but lions will eat human despite the fact they both are mammals, right? So group is very uh, closely tied entity in this situation. Gene is protected by external predator and unlikely event. Is this enough for my survival of genes? No. So once we achieve this altruistic behavior in order to survive all this, where you put others' interest or group's interest before your survival, we will revert back to selfish mode. And you will be wondering, but how, right? Why it has to be the next step? Let's just take a simple example. I'm an Indian citizen. After completing my duties as a citizen, I would need to consider what is the best situation for me and my family. I would compete to get a good job, partner, shelter, food, and list goes on and on. For materialistic thing, it is still easy. You compete to earn more money, and that money will buy you things. Now, in case of, let's say, partner, since childhood, we listen to the stories of fairy tale prince or princesses coming to your life and you marrying them off, right? Do you have one? If you have one, just comment their names and let them know why. I'll give you an easy example. When we reproduce, males have very little things to lose, right? The investment made by women is significantly higher because they must devote 9 months of their time to childbirth, which is childbearing, right? They have to invest in terms of time, food, energy. To make sure men are invested into this process, we build marriage as a process, and then the criteria generally for this marriage is that if men can provide the shelter and food or not. Now comes to the part where we understand there will be four types of people. Cooperative one, always playing the fair game. Faulty ones, always try to scam the system. Forgiving ones, who are true ones but forgives people who defect. One who is grudging, like who holds grudge, who has memory of defecting ones and will not cooperate with them in the future. So using this table on the screen, we can comprehend the various behaviors displayed by these individuals. If both cooperate, we would live in peace and harmony and can be correlated to Satyuga of Hindi mythology. If cooperative people outnumber defective people, then we will have more forgiving people, which is similar to Treta Yuga, where people still live in peace and harmony, but they try to forgive a lot of people. If defective have majority, then we call it a Dwapar Yuga because people were more hungry for power and possessions, right? A lot of wars would go on. If everyone is cheating, then we can surely call it as a Kali Yuga. Cheating doesn't mean the large cheatings, right? A small cheating is also a cheating. When cooperative and the defective meet, cooperative suffers the entire expenses of the transaction while the defective receives the benefit for free. Right? They just walk away with the benefits. So being cooperative would be detrimental in the long run, right? No, actually, let's just understand why not. The model that this book presents will decode it somehow. I'm trying to best my abilities to explain this. Let's say we play a game that is like 100 iterations. You can choose and I can choose to cooperate or defect. If we both cooperate, we get 3 points. Balle balle. If I cooperate and you defect, you get 5, I get 0, vice versa. And if in case of we both defect, we get 1. So let's say case 1. If I look closely, max scoring is possible for me if I defect all the time. This means I become the cheat one all the time. We are playing 100 times. You have probability of 50 times defecting and 50 times of cooperating. Which the ideal situation, which comes to the total of 300 points for me and 50 points for you. Now there will be a case 2. If we both play, cooperate, we both gain 300. This is something an ideal situation, right? This is the way we can maximize our gain for both of us. Case 3, I become a tit for tat person. You do this, I will do the opposite for you. Right? So for example, if you defect, I will defect. If you cooperate, I will cooperate. Let's say you defect all the time because that's in your interest of being or scoring most point. So last time I'll also play defect all the time. If you play, so we'll end up with 50. If you sorry, we'll end up at 100. If you pay 50% defect and 50% cooperative, I would get somewhere around 200 points. Now max is possible again 300 with variations. Case 4, we both defect all the time, just score 100 points for each. Then how do we decide what to choose and when? According to the game you are playing. When I say according to the game you are playing, it simply means the games can be either zero sum game or non-zero sum game. Chess is a zero sum game, establish rules, you can win. Right? War is a non-zero sum game. With no set rules, no way of knowing who is the true winner. Cheating may help you win a zero sum game, but in non-zero sum game, you must work together with your allies to win. So in this case, let's take the example of World War II. Germany was very powerful, captured a lot of land, but in the end, allies win because they were together and they were trying to achieve something together. In summary, in today's society, where the population is made up of cooperative and defectors, we need to play the game according to the situation rather than fixed playbook. You may occasionally cheat, which will not have a large impact on others, but your genes lifetime will be enhanced drastically. Let's take an example. I and my wife are going to the hospital to deliver our baby. The water broke midway, and I had to jump few signals to break some rules to get her to the hospital as soon as possible. So in this, survival was necessity and I had to cheat on the path. In order to achieve that my baby and wife reaches to the hospital, I would have to cheat and achieve the larger goal that I wanted, which is maybe security of my child's birth in a better place. Now in summary, the last thing that I want to tell you is male and female try to focus on partner's attribute in terms of their genes survival. So male would generally look up for healthy females so that they can carry their babies and they reproduce together. That's how male will think. How female will think is that the male should be invested enough into the relationship that when the child bearing process is complete, for the parenting phase, the male is still there. It doesn't just cheat on you and fly away, right? So females should always look after stabilities, which are in today's world, it could be shelter, money, because money will provide you food and energy in order to sustain the life. So in general, this book tells you a lot about how we have built ourselves over the time. And if you have liked this entire discussion that I have done with you guys over the book, please hit like. Whatever your viewpoints are, please do mention them in comment. Right? I will try to respond as much as possible. And then we can look after a new book which can improve our knowledge significantly. So stay tuned till then. Hit likes, share it with your friends and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.